Game 7 of the FIDE World Championship match, well, it started with a bang. It started with Gukesh, first of all, initiating the biggest surprise of them all in the opening. We were expecting e4, d4, no, knight f3, and here it comes. Yeah, a near novelty as early as move 7. It looks symmetrical at this point, a very symmetrical play. Here, nearly everything under the sun has been tried at top level. Often white takes this pawn or keeps the tension with his pawn. Here it was a sacrifice, a queen's gambit by Gukesh. He shuffled his rook across. This is a innocent-looking move, Ivanka, but there was a venom behind it. Yeah, definitely, and it was a move that took us all by surprise. I mean, we had a lot of experience in this particular position, and it was a novel try. And here, Ding went into the tank, but he reacted in the most principled manner. He grabbed the pawn on c4, allowed Gukesh to just advance in the center, and just develop the light-squared bishop, encouraging Gukesh to defend that knight by go knight bd2. And here white has everything covered. This pawn is now under attack. This knight is nicely defended. Ding again burned a lot of time before deciding upon a very committal path. He pushed his c-pawn for a second time within the space of 9 moves, losing a bit of time here, allowing Gukesh as well to install what became a very strong pawn on the d-file. And here Ding happily giving the pawn back. A few moves later, he relied upon techniques usually associated with the Grenfell defense, pushed his pawn forward, gaining space. Black has a dark-square bishop, but white has the bishop pair, which becomes a very useful tool later, and, of course, the strong d-pawn. Yeah, and it was going to be a battle between dynamic play between the two, and there you see the sideline might, but Gukesh just reacting very normally, very accurately, developing his pieces, and I feel Gukesh is playing this stage of the game to perfection. And this is a moment from Ding where we felt it was a questionable, because the knight doesn't belong on the f8 square, is dominated by the pawn on d5. Instead, a better try would have been just to mobilize his pieces. Yeah, plenty of options, possibly pushing his pawn forward in the near future, possibly trading a set of rooks, but knight back to f8, not great there. And, yeah, b4, a fantastic move by Gukesh, allowing a protected pass pawn for Ding, but the white knight soon has entry points. Wasn't able to jump yet, but here was where Gukesh started outplaying the current world champion. And Ding was suffering. At this point, he started burning a lot of time. He even grabbed a pawn. But at this moment, we realized Gukesh, he was in the driver's seat. He trapped the enemy queen behind his own lines here. Yeah, it was just absolutely fantastic positional sacrifice from Gukesh. The black queen completely sidelined, and he realized that actually the rook on a3 can be mobilized to start destabilizing the black queen side. So after rook d7, rook a5, fantastic move. Now Gukesh teased us, because after Ding played queen b3, we thought all might be a draw after Gukesh played rook a3, but no. Excellently calculated, and now rook takes b5, he keeps the game alive, and then Ding was relying on swapping off queens heading into an endgame in order to survive this particular position, because white has overwhelming control in the center. And here, great move by Gukesh, which he had to foresee. He jumped out with his queen, counterattacking against this black knight, and nothing else for Ding to do other than capture, allow a trade, and jump back with his queen. Desperation. In reverse gear here, he's trying to force the queens off, but a key moment. Gukesh, slightly materialistic here, missed a key chance, a winning move. Yeah, the winning move would be to actually go bishop to g5, preserve the bishop pair. But, to be honest, this is very, very difficult to play, especially when you're presented with the opportunity of doubling your opponent's pawns. But this position would have been overwhelming, and if this had happened, we would have likely seen Gukesh win. That's right, instead he played the more natural move. He took queens off the board. He also took bishops off the board, and this was due to the fact he could win the c4 pawn, black's pass pawn. But here, the rook and knight creating some real threats. White not quite able to get coordinated, the black knight jumping back. This is a pin. And it was a few moves later, just before the time control on move 40 with 10 seconds left, that Ding slipped for the first time. He brought his king forward. Maybe he should have just set up a blockade with his knight instead on the dark squares with a relatively simple draw. Instead, it gave a golden opportunity to Gukesh, who now gobbled up this h-pawn. Yes, and Yeah, it was actually a decision that Ding was now bound by, and this particular position is actually excellent for Gukesh. He can just now drop the bishop back to e2. We were expecting this, followed by slowly advancing the h-pawn. But instead, Gukesh played king to e1, an unusual move, but still, nonetheless, white is still very much in the driver's seat. And it was after the very sneaky f6 that Gukesh slipped up. He just played h4, ignoring the fact that black actually had a threat. The rook can now just dive down to d3. Yeah, and that's what happened. The black rook came in, and Gukesh started to realize he'd miscalculated. He dropped it back with his bishop, relying on a trick here. He wanted to pin at this black knight, but Ding, just by the skin of his teeth, hold to draw. He can move his rook across, pawn steps up, and this game would have ended in a perpetual check. Gukesh, realizing this, tried to fight, but ultimately wasn't successful due to the activity of the black pieces. Here Ding very confidently held the draw. Black's king, black's knight, black's rook as well, coordinated perfectly. Yes, and there you can see the black king just mobilizing. We move a little bit forward. You see how everything is under complete control from Ding. And he just covers everything. The black knight is dominant now. White's pawns are very, very weak. And here he found the right path. He hunted down successfully the white h-pawn, pass pawn, and the game soon fizzled out towards a draw. Yeah, and there you can see the closing moves. In the end, the black king and the knights just hunting down the f-pawn, and it was an elementary draw. And the players did play on to king and bishop, but a draw it was. What a game.